Everywhere he goes, Martin loves mashed potatoes. Hello my mashy mates, and welcome to another episode of Mr. Martin's History, the Nazis and Hitler, Birth and Rise. I hope you find the video useful, and don't forget to like and share. Before you watch the video, here's a little joke for you. What did one strawberry say to the other strawberry? You being so sweet is what got us into this jam. See you laters. In September 1919, with World War I over and the Treaty of Versailles signed, Adolf Hitler, still employed by the army, was sent to spy on a newly formed political party called the German Workers' Party, the DAP, created and led by Anton Drexler. At a DAP meeting, Hitler heard the following. The DAP hated the communists and socialists, who they blamed for the downfall of the Kaiser. They resented the Weimar politicians for signing the Treaty of Versailles and betraying Germany. They were angry that Germany was now a democracy, and they blamed the Jews for weakening Germany's economy. Hitler realised he agreed with many of their points and decided to join the party. Drexler saw potential in Hitler, and working together, they both helped to draft the party's 25-point plan. Some notable points of the plan were scrapping the Treaty of Versailles and rearming Germany, Jews were bad and should be deprived of citizenship, Lebensraum, expanding German borders to create more living space for the growing German population. Hitler was a passionate and energetic speaker. He would start speeches softly and build up to a rapturous finish. His public speeches began to attract larger audiences. By June 1920, membership rose to 1,100. As the Weimar Republic continued to be unpopular, by 1922, and now renamed the National Socialist German Workers' Party, the NSDAP, membership almost tripled to 3,000 members. More members meant more money, and the party used these funds to purchase their first newspaper, the Völkischer Beobachter, which they used to spread their views and ideology. By mid-1921, Hitler had sidelined Drexler and become leader. He surrounded himself with loyal henchmen. Joseph Goebbels, Erwin Göring, Rudolf Hess, Heinrich Himmler and Ernst Röhm. All would go on and play an important role in the Nazis' rise to power. Hitler also started to accumulate powerful friends outside the Nazi party, such as General Ludendorff, who led the German army in World War I. Also in 1921, Hitler created the Sturmabteilung, or Stormtroopers, not the Star Wars kind. They were supposed to provide security for the Nazis at meetings, but more often than not, they would disrupt the meetings of opposition parties, mostly left-wing ones, resulting in violence and drunken brawls. Although still small and mainly restricted to Bavaria, the nucleus of the Nazi party had now been established. The Weimar Republic was widely unpopular and in crisis because the French had occupied the Ruhr due to the Germans defaulting on their reparation payments. The Weimar Republic looked on the brink of collapse. After Stresemann negotiated the Dawes Plan and Germany restarted reparation payments, the right-wingers in Germany were furious, humiliated the Weimar government had backed down and in their eyes had once again appeared weak. Nazi membership was now at 55,000. Hitler believed he had the support of the Bavarian government and that the army could be persuaded to support him. Believing the time was right, he launched his putsch. On the 8th of November 1923, along with Göring, 600 SA members and General Ludendorff, Hitler burst into the Bürgerbrau Keller Beer Hall in Munich, where the Bavarian Prime Minister, von Kahr, was addressing 3,000 officials. Hitler announced he was taking over the Bavarian government and would then march into Munich and take over the German government. At gunpoint, Hitler persuaded Kahr and his ministers to support him. But Kahr changed his mind. News reached Berlin about the putsch. It was a huge blow, but Hitler pressed on. Hitler, Ludendorff and 3,000 Nazis marched into Munich. The police and army were waiting in the city centre. They tried pushing the Nazis back, but a shot was fired and a swarm of bullets erupted from either side. Hitler was saved by one of his bodyguards, who threw himself in front of Hitler and was shot by several bullets. Göring was shot in the thigh and Hitler fell, or was pushed down, and dislocated his shoulder. 16 Nazis died along with 4 policemen. Ludendorff was arrested and 2 days later, so was Hitler. At the trial, Ludendorff walked free and Hitler was sentenced to 5 years for treason, released after only 9 months. The putsch can be seen as a failure, because Hitler failed to take power. But in the long term, one can argue it was the catalyst for the future success of the party. The media exposure of the putsch and trial brought the Nazis and Hitler national attention. A national and worldwide audience heard Hitler speak and present his views. In the aftermath of the trial, the Nazis, under a different name because they had been banned, won 32 seats in the Reichstag, their first ever seats. In prison, Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, which would later become a bestseller, and he realised to take power by force was the wrong plan. Upon its release, Hitler changed tactics and reorganised the party with the aim of winning power legally and democratically. But the years between his release from prison to 1928 were lean. Nazi membership did double, but they performed poorly in the 1928 elections, winning only 12 seats. Weimar Germany had stabilised under Stresemann, inflation eased and employment had increased. The conditions extremist parties festered in were not as prevalent, but help was around the corner. In October 1929, Wall Street crashed, which led to a worldwide depression. America recalled their loans and the German economy fell once again into turmoil with rising unemployment. As in previous years, voters turned to extremist parties. The Nazis certainly benefited from the depression. In 1930, the Nazis increased their share of seats in the Reichstag to 107. In the July 1932 elections, they saw an even greater increase to 230 seats, before dipping to 196 seats in November 1932. The depression helped the Nazis become the largest party in Germany, but that alone does not explain why voters chose them over all the other political parties. Why did voters choose the Nazis? By 1932, the Nazis were a well-organised party, appealing to a wide range of people across society. The Nazis stood for traditional German values and a strong Germany, which some working-class people liked. The Nazi slogan, "Work and bread," was appealing, but most workers tended to support the KPD in times of hardship. The middle class, made up of professionals such as farmers and businessmen, were big supporters of the Nazi Party. The Great Depression cost them their savings, companies and pensions. They switched their votes from moderate parties such as the Social Democrats to the Nazis, believing Hitler could help Germany recover. The middle class were worried about the KPD, who wanted rid of private ownership of land and businesses. The Nazis' strong anti-communist views appealed to them. The Nazis appealed to farmers by promising to protect their land from communists and only confiscating land owned by Jews. Industrialists were also scared of the KPD and saw Hitler as protection. Young people liked Hitler for his passionate speeches and ideas for the future. Women, who at first were against Hitler, soon supported the Nazis, believing the NSDAP was best for their country and family. The Nazis were flexible, changing their views to support whichever audience they targeted, using propaganda and the latest technology to appeal to as many people as possible across German society. Flexibility. The Nazis changed their views to appeal to specific groups. For example, the 25 points of 1920 said the NSDAP would confiscate all private land. The Nazis changed this in 1928 to gain the support of farmers. The Nazis made promises to virtually every sector of German society, promising more jobs for workers, promising the industrialists he would suspend the trade unions, promising farmers higher prices for their agricultural products, promising women their families would be better now and in the future with the Nazis. Propaganda was a very important tool used effectively by the Nazis, who took advantage of new technology to spread their views. The Nazis used radio, films and gramophone records to reach millions of people, notably stressing their anti-communist stance, to whip up further fear and hatred of the communists. Attacks on the Weimar Republic, particularly their economic policies, was regularly used as ammunition for the Nazi propaganda machine. The depression, flexibility, promises, propaganda and the use of technology all played important roles in the rise of the Nazi Party, and by July 1932, they were the largest political party in Germany. Arguably, the most important factor was Hitler himself. Hitler was always the focus of the party, the strong leader Germany needed, the leader who gave passionate speeches that ended in furious applause and cheers from the audience. Nazi parades and rallies centered around him. His campaigns emphasized his personality and skills. No other leader of any of the other political parties could match him. But despite being the largest party, the Nazis still had not won power. For all of Hitler's skills and personality, he lost 2 presidential elections in 1932 to Hindenburg. In the November 1932 elections, the Nazis lost 34 seats. The Nazi machine appeared to be running out of steam, and their funds were running short. Hitler had repeatedly asked to be made Chancellor, but President Hindenburg refused. He hated Hitler, calling him a jumped-up corporal. Instead, on the 2nd of December 1932, Hindenburg appointed von Schleicher as Chancellor. The future looked gloomy for the Nazis and Hitler, but von Schleicher repeatedly failed to gain a majority in the Reichstag. Von Papen saw an opportunity and struck a deal with Hitler. Hitler would be Chancellor and von Papen would be Vice-Chancellor. Von Papen believed that he and Hindenburg could control Hitler and make all the decisions. Hitler would be nothing more than a figurehead. However, Hindenburg again refused, but on the 28th of January 1933, von Schleicher resigned the chancellorship, realizing his attempts at raising support in the Reichstag was futile. Hindenburg wanted von Papen back as chancellor, but von Papen persuaded Hindenburg to appoint Hitler. Hindenburg reluctantly agreed. Hello? On the 30th of January 1933, Hitler was appointed chancellor, legally and democratically. Finally, the Nazis had gotten into power, not by force, but through a political system Hitler despised. Now that he was in power, he needed to consolidate his position. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope it proves useful as well. Until next time, peace.